If you are a frequent listener to the podcast, you know that we have been sponsored by Fuji Sports for quite some time now. Whether you're looking for apparel, equipment, bags, or accessories, Fuji Sports has got it covered. Go to Fujisports.com to see the latest selection of everything you need for your Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, or MMA journey. That's Fujisports.com. Let me take a minute to tell you about RŌL TV. If you're looking to take your Jiu-Jitsu to the next level and supplement your BJJ education, then RŌL TV has you covered. RŌLAcademy.tv has over 1,500 videos covering individual techniques, positions, and concepts, including seminars and workshops with top-level competitors and instructors like Chris Wojcik, Robert Drysdale, Aaron Hurley, Emily Kwok, and more. Whether you are a beginner or more advanced student, RŌL TV is the online platform that can take your jiu-jitsu to the next level. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, and whatever other button there is, and leave us a review wherever you listen. This helps us bring you the great guests and amazing content that you've come to expect. In this conversation, Thomas and his guest explore the evolution of jiu-jitsu, the impact of social media on training, and the importance of community and professionalism in martial arts. They discuss the complexities of learning jiu-jitsu, emphasizing the importance of understanding the art versus the sport. His guest also shares his personal anecdotes about the support from his wife and the impact it has had on his own journey. He also looks ahead to the future of his teaching career and the legacy he hopes to leave behind. Here's the RŌL Radio with a lifelong martial artist, an instructor at the Jean Jacques Machado Academy, and a 5th degree black belt, Jay Zeballos.
Welcome to RŌL Radio.
And we are live. Professor Jay, how are you, sir?
You know, it seems like I just saw you.
Can you believe that it's been 3 years since we had this conversation?
You know, I can, and it sounds maybe a little disingenuous, but I have a catalog. Because if you remember our last conversation, I talked a little bit about how I helped Jean Jacques early on with a lot of his instructional development. Mm-hmm. I have content that just gets pulled up every so often, and I look at the dates, and I put a video on my Instagram the other day. It's 20 years old.
That's insane.
And then he put a video up recently. He's like, "You remember this, Jay?" And I'm like, "Jean Jacques," I go, "that was 6 years ago." And it seemed like just a couple of weeks ago.
Well,
so I can believe it. 3 years.
Let me ask you this. How do you take that in? You see a video, 20 years old, 6 years old. How do you take that in? Because I have my own feelings about this. Like, my content has been out there for a while. But what's your first impression? You see Jay and whomever, and you guys are presenting something. What's your thought?
I legacy is a term that kind of comes up. I think the greatest contribution we can make is leaving a footprint for the next generation. And one of the nice things about the internet is kind of replacing books, physical things. This content, a lot of it, who knows? I mean, it's definitely going to outlive me, but I hope that it continues to stay and just be an imprint for the next generation. I think that's what I always wax nostalgia when I see that stuff. And then I remind students, I was a beginner just like you. And I remember, and the thing that I always get that kind of always blows people's minds a little bit, I'm like, I remember that video. I just got my black belt for say. And I'm like, I was a white black belt. Like, if you guys only knew, I got my black belt and I thought, okay, I think I got this down. It was like, no. Looking back then to where I am today, it's just this constant evolution. But they bring me the feelings of nostalgia, because those early days of exploration, it's just amazing.
Yeah, that's the interesting part. You mentioned a couple things that trigger my mind immediately. I feel like oftentimes our students look up at different instructors and they see that person at this point of time right now with everything that comes with it, good, bad, and so on. But we often forget that all of these instructors, including Master Jean Jacques, they started at day one.
Yeah.
There was that one moment in their life they stepped on a mat for the very, very first time, and they were as green as everybody else, clueless, vulnerable, and just there, hungry for information.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that on the good side, and then on another side, the videos give you a window into that journey. The old days, and I'm talking even before my days, martial arts was a very solo, private endeavor. You're just an individual. You're looking to, you want to learn something, maybe discover a little bit about yourself, and you just start this odyssey. You go into a school and you're just training, but you don't have anybody to share in the experience. It's just you. At the end of the day, your successes, your failures, you win a tournament, great. If no one knows about it, it shouldn't matter. It should only matter to you. And you process it and you move on. But today, everybody has a window into your experience. And on one hand, it's really, I mean, it is wonderful to be able to share that with people. But on the other hand, it's like, I try to tell people, don't let that distract you from what you're really doing. You know, and that's why with especially with jiu-jitsu, I've always tried to lean more towards the traditional aspects, even though we don't implement it in our school. I just think that the actual, the mental discipline of being present in the moment, not being worried about, well, I gotta document my experience. I gotta film these techniques and all this. I don't think that really, it's nice. I don't think it's really necessary, especially if you're still learning, because what's going to happen is, and I see it a lot, you know, people put videos up and I'm like, oh, that's going to come back to haunt him. When he's a black belt or she's a black belt, that's going to come back to haunt them because the technique is so flawed and so unrefined. They mean well, but it's clear they don't really understand it. And then 5 or 10 years later, they are at a skill level where they do the same move and it is very sharp and very, you know, refined. And then you compare the two and you're like, that's why you don't want to do that early on. So I like the documentation, but it's just, I think it has its place.
Do you feel like not everybody should be putting the content out there then?
Well, I mean, I look at it like this. I think it's a free country, so people can do whatever they want. And I try never to be a judge because we have enough critics in the world. I see people doing it. If it's making you feel good in some way, then I support it. I would never tell somebody something that I know is going to affect them adversely. So it's like, if that's what makes you feel better, if you feel that endorphin, someone's, you know, because let's be honest, a lot of people are lonely or depressed. And if you can create a little bit of an audience for yourself, if you can get some supporters that are just kind of supporting you and pushing you along in your journey, then who am I to tell you what you should or shouldn't do? But my whole thing is also for the new students that are coming in and they don't know how to decipher good technique from unrefined technique. And they'll come in and ask me, I saw this, what about this? Or I saw that. And I just try to tell them, look, you know, I would stay away from all external resources now, right now. When you're going to get to a certain point, well, I'll tell you, yeah, go out and explore. Once your foundation is kind of set, explore all the different options that are out there because there's limitless and people can create. I really believe that, but don't put the cart before the horse.
I feel like what you're describing is extremely difficult, challenging from just managing yourself, right? From one perspective, you have somebody who is hunger for information and seeking information, wants information, and yet what you're describing is resist the urge to go to the biggest source of information there is out there and stay content into just being a student, being in person, being present.
Yeah, because that what happens, and this is the joke. Somebody told me this one time, and it was so funny. He said, Jay, when we started, there was no, I mean, we had magazines, maybe a couple of books. I know they had the VHS tapes, but those weren't really readily available. So when you were in the academy, and the teacher showed a technique, we celebrated like Neanderthals that just discovered fire. We're just running around and jumping like, oh my God, this is wild. This is crazy. Look at this. And then the teacher says, okay, now we're going to drill it. So what would we do? We wouldn't drill it like 3 or 4 times and then talk about, oh, I saw this on Instagram or I saw this on YouTube. No, we would drill that 100, 200, 300 times because we knew we're not going to be able to document this. So we have to train it so much that our bodies won't forget. So it's that one move over and over and over again. But we're so, and even back then, just humans by our nature, we're always like, what if this, what if that? And we're always trying to move beyond. Those scenarios won't even play out if you don't understand this.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult because, you certainly don't want to lay control over your students. You give them the freedom to do what they want. But we just, or at least I try to respectfully just give them that little bit of advice, like try to stay focused in here just for a little while. I'm not asking you to never watch instructionals. I think they do add value to your development. But for a newer student, I think it's just your brain is just going to be all over the place.
Funny you mentioned that old school environment in a class studying way back in the years. I told this story many times on the show, but I'll share it with you. I remember having a jiu-jitsu book, and back in the day, I was with Carson Gracie Sr., and he released a book. He signed it for me, and I remember like it was yesterday. I was sitting on the edge of the mat and looking at the techniques in the book, and there's 4 pictures on the page, and we are sitting for hours and trying to figure out how he got from point A to point B. And we are clueless about it. Like, we don't know what this is physically impossible. Like, how did he get from the? And today, like, I feel like students don't have that experience. I mean, we spent hours trying to figure stuff out. And today it's by far more instant result driven. It's right there. You can rewind, you can play it again, you can save it, you can look at it later. How do you feel about all of this? Would you rather go back 20 years, 30 years, old school? Or do you feel that today is just the way of jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I tend to think that. I think it's just, I mean, we evolve, we evolve time, people, energy, and I think it's the essence of the art. This is something that I'm going to say something that might be a little controversial, but it's how I really feel. You have segments, and this is not just jiu-jitsu, a lot of martial arts where somebody will tell you, I came up doing this technique this way because this is the way my master taught me. But then once the master dies, that's what this student continues to do. He's like, this is the way he taught me. This is the way you guys have to do it. Even if somebody, or even yourself, you discover, I found a little bit more efficient way to do it, but that's not the way to do it because my master taught me to do it this way. But I respectfully add, if your master lived another 10 or 15 years, you think he'd still be doing that technique that way? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Everything evolves, time, energy, jiu-jitsu, martial arts, society. And it's the people that stay on the cutting edge of that and just keep going with it, accept it and go with it. Those are the ones that continue to evolve and thrive. If you stay rigid, like, nope, this is the way it's got to be, or we got to go back to the old ways, I think that there is a segment of we should go back to some of the old ways of martial arts that I think we've lost. Discipline and our personal conduct is at the top of the list. That's the thing that I see more than anything that it makes me sad. The way people conduct themselves at tournaments, the way that people talk to each other online, especially martial artist to martial artist, because that's what you are first. But the world today, it's like everybody has a voice. People are trying to make themselves more known, and it's just different. It's a different world. But I'm not going to say that it's necessarily a bad thing. You just have to evolve with it. Otherwise, you're just going to be bitter.
I guess my question to all of that would be, are they really true martial artists?
Yeah, no. you're an athlete. You're not a martial artist. A martial
Right.
artist is something that's a very specific title to call somebody. A martial artist is the one guy in the room that doesn't get triggered. He's the one guy in the room that will do everything possible to avoid conflict. But if you force him into a conflict, he'll finish it. But they just walk a different path. And there's still a lot of them out there, even in jiu-jitsu. There's some really good ones, but it's always the same thing with a lot of endeavors. When there's money to be made, things change. That's always the case.
I feel like we're in this unique time of jiu-jitsu evolution where you are mentioning is actually becoming more and more reality, where making a living, and I don't mean breaking even, I mean actually making tangible income on jiu-jitsu is very, very much so available, right? From academy perspective, from an athlete perspective, sponsorship and other opportunities that people might have. And all of this requires, well, one thing, and that's attention from the audience. And that's where this negative spin or some of these behaviors really come in, because they do draw attention, right? I mean, who doesn't like good show, right?
Yeah. But, there are a lot of good athletes out there that are very much the professional, their conduct. But when the lights come on, they perform,
and you mentioning something, I just talked to somebody about this a couple of weeks ago. You mentioned something really interesting. It's like, you've never seen Michael Phelps being unprofessional, or Michael Jordan, or Kobe Bryant, or Wayne Gretzky, or wherever greatest of the greatest, in whichever sport it is. They have a certain level of professionalism. There's a certain level of expectations that is set upon themselves in order to deliver certain product, and that status is important, right? And I feel like sometimes that's ignored in mixed martial arts and in, jiu-jitsu too.
With mixed martial arts, GSP was the exception.
Absolutely. I think he was I don't know if the last one, but he really set the bar really high.
Just his professionalism. I mean, the little things. You never saw him at a press conference with a t-shirt. It was always a suit and tie. He dressed like a professional. He acted like a professional. And he went out on his own terms, which was the other thing, the other amazing thing. Yeah, it's the most, you'd like to hope the elite of the elite kind of have that, but that was a generational thing, I think, more than anything, because today you just don't see it as much, because in order to get, and this is where I'm not going to say that I'm okay with it, but like Conor McGregor, he was the catalyst, because he clearly had talent. He just needed an opportunity. And what better way to get an opportunity than to start provoking the people that he wanted to compete against? And you can only ignore somebody for so long. And that was the benchmark. I think he kind of, in a roundabout way, inspired a whole generation of just that idea that you better have the talent, but as long as you have the mouth and the attitude and the swagger, you can talk your way up in terms of your popularity and your ability to put yourself up on these big stages. The difference is, do you have the tools to get it done once you do it?
Yeah. Well, let me challenge that a little bit. I'm curious what your thoughts on this, because some might say, look, we look 30 years ago back in Brazil. We look at the Worlds. I mean, it was some of them, not all of them, but some of them were some of the biggest chaos events ever. I mean, rivalry between the teams and people getting into it. I mean, you can, get into some of these, even individual matches, like Jacare fighting with broken arm. And like, I mean, they were just wars. And so some might say, well, look, this is almost the same thing in a sense.
It's almost, but today it's about the individual. Back then it was about the team.
Yeah, I know. That's why I
You
brought it
know?
up. Yep.
Yeah, it's the pride. That's why, I mean, I've never had the privilege of going to one, but I would love to go to a soccer game like flamenco or one of those big teams where you just have that energy, you know. And even for, you know, academies, it's the biggest icebreaker for new competitors when they go to a tournament and they see their team patches huddled in a corner. It's like, okay, now I have my pack. I'm safe here.
Yeah.
And now we're going to go out and we're going to go out and execute, you know. It's like
Yeah.
that's a little bit different, you know, because you're representing again something bigger than yourself.
You think that's important to us as humans, representing something bigger than ourselves?
That is our culture now, and especially in America. Are we truly representing something bigger than ourselves? But everybody identifies with something much bigger than themselves. It's dividing our country, whether they really understand what they're aligning themselves with. But even at that, at its essence, human beings, we want to attach ourselves to something, you know, and whether we attach it because we believe in the cause or because it's something we've grown with. But I think that human beings, yeah, I think very much, you know, you have those few that don't really want to connect with anything or anybody. And I understand that. You know, we're all built different. We all behave different. But generally speaking, yeah, most people want to, whether it's sports, you know, uh, heck, here in California, we have like In-N-Out Burger or Five Guys. People argue over that. You know, everybody has a side.
That's a
So,
serious topic. I don't know why you're
yeah,
making jokes about this.
exactly. So you kind of see it. Just it can be a great big thing, big serious thing, or something the lightest. You're always going to have people that align themselves with something. So yeah, it's just nature. It's
Well, we
just
are creatures
nature.
of packs, right? I mean, that's what human culturally, and we want to be in a pack always. I mean, all the time. I mean, how many times you are at the airport and you see somebody approaching you just because you're wearing jiu-jitsu t-shirt, like you've never met them, and
Yeah.
that happens to me. Or like, how many times you go to different country and they overhear you talk in English and they will approach you. We want to gravitate towards what we know. The question is selecting was right or wrong. That's the pivot point.
Yeah, but I mean, look, even I just speak for myself. I'm one of those people that let's talk about the airport. I'm at an airport and I'm in I don't know, either at the counter or something, and there's somebody next to me. I'm gonna say hi. I don't care what you're wearing, what you may represent. You're a human being, and I never forget that. You know, humanity is we're here on this planet. I mean, our basic function should be to help one another, be kind to one another, because the thing I always tell people, imagine you're in a room full of people and you're having this big debate. It can be a debate about anything. You can attach whatever you want to it, and it's getting pretty heated. And people are getting to the point to where they're just about ready to stand up and make it physical. And then a massive earthquake hits or a fire. How quickly are we going to forget about our differences? And we're going to be like, oh shoot, we need to work together to get out of here. I think we can't forget that. We've gotten so manipulated and transformed into just putting these barriers up. So when you're in a public place, people walk up next to you, you know, depending on certain things, some people won't even look at you and other people will. And I think it's incredible just being able to talk to somebody because you learn about them and you potentially make a new friend. And you never know, 9 times out of 10, they have a friend who has a friend who has a friend who trains. So it always comes back to jujitsu, you know?
Everything comes
Yeah.
back anyway, right?
For
But
sure.
what you're saying is very refreshing to hear. You know, I think you're right. We are very much so divided on many different layers and reasons and so on. But I think there's a lot of divide. There's a lot of obstacles between us versus bringing everybody together and sharing these experiences. Because ultimately, time flies. We all get older. We talked about this before we got in the air. That's one certain thing in life, that time passes. And we all have expiration date at some point. We just don't know where it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You ever reflect on that?
All the time. I'm 58, or wait a minute. Yeah, I'm 58. And when I turned 50, I mean, it obviously was probably sooner, but I remember kind of reflecting on the fact that, and it's not being morbid, but it's like I understand that the hourglass to my life has been turned over.
Mm-hmm.
So I switched it from ending with, that's one more day to now it's one less day. So I have to make these days count because we just don't know. And that's one of the best things that could have happened to me becoming an instructor is when you have to train yourself to understand that the things that go on around you have nothing to do with you. It's not your ego. You're here for the community you serve. The very thing that I told you, my job is to interact with people, irregardless of their walks of life. Whatever they may think, whatever they may believe, they're part of the community. And my job is to interject them into a community that I've helped create and help them assimilate with everyone else. So you'll have a room full of people from all walks of life, different political affiliations, different religious, doctrine. But it's this community where at the end of the day, it's human, it's humanity. We're here to care about each other and help each other. So as somebody who's getting older, and we talked about this, I just don't sweat things anymore. If something negative happens, it happens. Let it pass. If something great happens, great. I'm happy, but I'm that person now who I start to understand why when there's so much chaos in the world, I see that elderly person walking in the park and they're just staring at the birds or they're touching the tree. It's like I think they get it. They realize like, there's way more to life than that. It's being present.
Are you telling me that you walk in the park looking at trees and birds and pausing for a moment to reflect on
My
what's happening?
backyard. I have a bunch of trees in my backyard. I do. I swear to God.
I'm making jokes, but I just told you before we got on the air, I my half hour every morning with my coffee on my deck and looking out in the back, like the peace and birds and whatever wind, like that peaceful, quiet moment where I can journal and think, reflect. That's the best part of my day.
Yeah, and you need that more than ever. This is a topic I talk to our instructors and just people in general. This is not just a guy thing, it's just a human thing, but I'm like, you need self-time, self-care. You need to make time for yourself where if you have kids, great. They'll survive for a half hour without you. If you great marriage, all of that, it's great, but you need just some amount of time. Like you said, for the next hour, I'm going to go in the next room and read a book, or I'm going to go for a walk in the park, or I'm just going to do something, meditate, listen to music. But you need to be able to just shut down and take care of yourself first. I think, especially if you care about people and you serve people and you take care of people, Jean Jacques, with all his great analogies, he says, when you're on the airplane, what's the first thing they tell you? You don't put the mask on the child, you put it on yourself first before you help the child. And it's that same mentality. You need to take care of yourself first. Find that time. And this isn't something that should come when you get older. This is something that you should just start practicing regularly.
So let me ask you this. This is so simple. I mean, nothing we are talking about is groundbreaking, yet I would say majority of people don't do it. Why does it take for us to be on this earth for decades to have this light bulb go off?
That's the wisdom of age. And I hate to say it that way. When I was a kid, when I was a kid and then of course a young adult, I always gravitated towards older people. I've always been that way. And I think that was my martial arts training. Just subconsciously, I knew if they're older than me, they know more about life than me. So I'll listen to them. And they would say things and I've always been respectful, but I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Hey, I'm going to go out and do this and have fun. But then you start reflecting on your own mortality. And it's like, my friend, our other instructor, Professor Mark, I might have said this to you before, but he said something to me very profound. He's like, Jay, I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of not living. And I tend to think about this. These are the moments where I'm fully present in my moment, because we're not always fully present when we're serving people, or we're constantly, our minds are just being controlled by others. Basically, I'm giving you my attention, I'm giving this person my guidance, I'm helping other people, but I'm not really taking care of myself. So I need to take those moments to just recharge in the best way possible. And that's, for me, it's just being more alone time and doing the things I want to.
When did this change for you? Did you have an aha moment, or this is more of a progressive evolution of Jay's mind or experience?
No, I'm being fully transparent. I think it was 2-3 years ago. I went in for a physical, and it was the first time in my life. They came to me and they're like, "Yeah, your blood work is all over the place." And then we think there might be something going on with your heart or your lungs. And for 6 months, I think it was 23, I went through this odyssey of just navigating this roller coaster of anxiety, fear. You go your whole life feeling healthy, and I still felt great. I felt healthy on the surface, but I didn't know what was going on under the hood. The blood work was easy. I got that all squared away, leveled out, everything was good. But I had to go through, what do you call it? Echocardiogram, stress test, all these different things. And it turns out the cardiologist told me, he goes, "What you have is not uncommon with athletes. Athletes, your EKGs read irregular sometimes." When I did the stress test, the technician looked at me because he said, "We normally get people going, I think it's from 6 to 10 on this scale, or 6 to 11. He goes, "We tend to get you guys around 7 to 8. He had me at 11, and he looks at me and he goes, "Why are you here?" Because I felt strong. And then after we were done, the cardiologist came in and he looked at the readings and he kind of winked him and he goes, "Jay, go home." He goes, "You're fine." He goes, "This is something that just happens with athletes, especially older athletes. You're totally fine. Go home." So that was it. It was done. I'm healthy. Everything is good. It was just a health scare. But I really started to think more along the lines like, okay, I'm in my early 50s. I just had this health scare. I have an amazing life, amazing career. I'm helping people, but what am I doing for myself? And how can I take better care of myself to just to make sure these things don't happen? So I started making some changes in what I eat. I have little dietary changes now, like little things that I do every day. I joined a wellness clinic by my house. Twice a week I go. I jump in the sauna for a half hour, and then I do a 6-minute cold plunge, and I'm alone for 45 minutes. No one's bothering me. I can meditate. I have the ambient music, and it's just, I completely disconnect from the world. And the wonderful thing is I do those different times of the week, different times of the day. Somebody must look out for me, because even though my phone's on mute, nobody ever interrupts me. I've never gotten a call or anything during that time. It's actually it's a little quite unsettling, because it's like, maybe somebody is looking out for me because I'm literally left alone. But so, yeah, that was.
They're going to listen to this. Now they're going to track you down, right?
Yeah, I know. They will. For sure.
But our priorities change as life goes on, right? This is the interesting thing. And like, I'm a very private person. Not many people know, but I've gone through something very similar just a couple years ago. And in some sense, my priorities have changed. And I value a lot of different things at this point than my perspective was a couple years back, or a few years back. And isn't it interesting how one thing can really impact how we see the world? Have you ever heard this phrase? And I'm paraphrasing. I'm going to butcher this, but I don't even know who said this, but they said, when you are healthy, you have a million problems. But when your health goes away, you have only one.
Yeah.
One problem.
I have heard that. Yeah, very much.
Recently, I heard this like a year ago or so, and it really sunk in. Like it really hit me. It's like, that's so true. We ignore all these qualities of life. Even some, like let's talk about new students. How many times have you heard, I need to get in shape before I start jiu-jitsu?
Yeah,
Right? I mean,
absolutely.
instead of really taking under consideration the value that this could bring to us mentally and physically in order for us to become healthier and lead just simple, better life.
It's discipline. Discipline is it's at the core of anything you want to do in your life. Even something as simple as, what am I going to eat? You know, do I want to work out today? Do I want to read today? Do I want to have my me time? Because it's easy to just grab your phone and then I just burned through a half hour on my phone when that could have been me time. And what did I really look at on my phone? Was it anything that added value to my day? So learning to compartmentalize, because it's the one thing that I have done. I compartmentalize a lot, and I have very specific, like, do not disturb time. And the big thing that I did also was I made weekends off limits, because I oversee our association. So I talk to all our school owners from everywhere, and the great people too. They're all my friends. I mean, everybody. I love them all dearly. But I just told everybody, I go, unless it's an emergency, you're more than welcome to text me or call me. But if you call me on the weekend, I'll get back to you on Monday. Like, I need my time, my private time. And this goes back to, I think I mentioned to you, I live 60 miles away from Jean Jacques. There was a time, and I still circle back on it, where maybe I need to move closer because the commute can be a bit taxing. But when I'm home, I am completely disconnected from that world, that world that is so special to me. But I also realize even a place like that gives me so much, it's not healthy for me to be there all the time. I need to be stepped away.
So in that case, what do you say to students who are completely obsessed with jiu-jitsu? I mean, this is particularly first year or two. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen this. They're completely, head in, whole thing, like all day, all night, every day, 7 times a day, whatever. You know what I mean?
I was there. Yeah. I was there, and I understand it. I try to tell them, look, you hit these peaks, you make these jumps in your knowledge and your ability to execute, and there's a certain point when you're just getting all this knowledge and you're getting better and better and better. And I go, I tell them, I go, it's natural, you're going to want to be here all the time. I'm not going to tell you don't. You keep coming as much as you want, but I'm going to plant a little seed, and I just want to put this in your head. Sometimes a little distance is good. This is what I always tell students when they're struggling with, like, they hit a plateau. I can't seem to be getting any better. I'm like, take a day or two off. And then when you come back, don't worry about, like, put yourself in bad positions. Come in with the idea that I'm just going to work. I'm not really thinking about, I need to submit people or pull off these moves. Sometimes a little disconnect is the best thing. And I have an example I always tell people. I used to be in the world of web design. So my brother is like a master level programmer. He's brilliant with a computer. I'm a white belt with code. I can navigate, but I'm just not that good. But I'm looking at code because there was a problem with this page. And my brother, bless him, won't give me the answer. He's always so cryptic because he wants me to figure it out. So I saw, I'm looking at all this line of code, and I'm like, what is this? And he goes, can you do me a favor? And I'm like, you're not going to tell me, are you? And he goes, no. He goes, but this is what I want you to do. He goes, get up, go grab a water or go make yourself coffee or whatever. Just get away from your computer for 10 minutes, come back and sit down, and you'll see it. I kid you not, that's exactly what happened. I left, I sat down, and boom, it was right there. I saw the mistake, fixed it. So that's the analogy I tell students. I'm like, sometimes, even if you're progressing really well, you don't want to get too obsessed. Give yourself a break, because I think, like anything, it can just be, life will slow you down one way or the other. So it's good to maintain that balance.
I love that story. And it really reminds me of that perspective that if we are far away, we can't see details. But if we are too close, we can't see details either.
Yeah.
And I think in jiu-jitsu, there's a big correlation. How we train jiu-jitsu, how we execute, especially at the very beginning when we're trying to understand these things, right? Like I was laughing, I was smiling as you were telling that story because this literally happened this morning in my class. I was talking to a couple guys and I said like, it's right in front of you. And he looked at me, he was like, you're not going to tell me what it is. I was like, nope, no, you can figure this out. You've been at this for years right now. You can figure this out. Just look at the situation, step back from it a little bit. And he's like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. And, all this. But we do find ourselves in these predicaments where too close is simply too close.
Yeah. And we get tunnel vision. That's the other thing, because we tend to what it is we have an objective or a focus. So we start our engagement here, and then that vision narrows and narrows and narrows and narrows because we're hyper focused on something. But the problem is I need to back up a little bit to get a better view of what I'm dealing with, and then I'll see the problem. But we get right in there and we keep forcing it. That's why it's always good to just take a step back and try again. Or in your case, like what you were telling your student, just kind of back up a little bit and really look around, It's to me is the beauty and the frustration of jiu-jitsu is that it's kind of like, I have a Tesla, and the Teslas come with all these amazing features if you pay for them. I've never bought one, but they're already in the car. You just need to pay for it, and then it unlocks. Jiu-jitsu, everything is right there. You just have to unlock it. But how do I unlock it? I can't see it. Well, that's the job of you and I, to guide them there. But the beauty of jiu-jitsu, there's no like, you have to pay more money and then I'll teach you something. You have a human being right here. I'm gonna manipulate them the same way you would. Only I've unlocked a lot more through all my years of training. So that's the frustrating part for students, because you and I can see it, they can't. And then when you show them, they're like, oh, why didn't I see that? And it's like, you just don't have enough time. But open your vision up, these things will start to manifest for you. And that's what, in my opinion, makes a student relax more and flow more and not be so aggressive and just one objective,
Well, let me ask you this then. There is, on that topic on unlocking things and inquiring information specific to jiu-jitsu, there's this notion all over everywhere, jiu-jitsu community, that certain people can expedite the learning process of jiu-jitsu. And instead of 10, 8, or whatever years, we can accomplish the same things in significantly short amount of time. Do you think that is possible, or all we doing is narrowing the path and expediting getting to that goal, ignoring the other things around us, which could be a negative consequence too?
Yeah, what that is, just in my opinion, you're packaging the art. And that's not necessarily saying that you're not capable of doing that. But the one thing that I see today, and I have no judgment over this, because I understand for a new student who wants to learn it, he or she will have very specific flavor that they want to do. Maybe I want to do no-gi. Maybe I want to compete. Or maybe I don't like all the wrestling. I just want to do self-defense. There's jiu-jitsu for the expression that I tell people. Jiu-jitsu is for anybody, but it is not for everybody. And I tend to think of it more from the standpoint, if you want to learn the art, you can't package that, and I can make you good in such and such time. Because the jiu-jitsu, the art, as I understand it, and as I've studied it and as I like to teach it, it's all encompassing. You learn self-defense, you learn no-gi, you learn with the gi, and then I consider this an extension. You can learn the sport which is different than the art. So based on that, then you can start to compartmentalize what are your goals. But it's so broad that I just feel like to try to say, well, I'm going to make you, good in 3 years or 2 years. And again, what does good mean? How do we define good? Good meaning you're tapping everybody out and you're becoming a world champion, or you're discovering and empowering something inside you, something that's going to help you grow as a person, but also something that you're going to be able to help others with. These are two very distinct goals. And this goes back to the whole martial artist athlete conversation we had. Because an athlete doesn't care about anybody but themselves. And that's not a knock. That's just the reality. It's a very selfish endeavor. But a martial artist, it's always about I learn and then I give to my community. That's because that comes down to the respect, the honor, the spirit of giving, service to the community, which is an expression I hear Hicks and Gracie say all the time. And I think that to me is what a jiu-jitsu athlete, student should represent, so it's just different.
That's often misunderstood, isn't it?
Very much.
The martial artist and sport and athlete, right? Selfish versus selfless.
Yeah, but I'm very quick because I'll have students ask me about particular instructors, or they'll see instructors selling content on the internet, and they're like, "What do you think about this? Or what do you think about that?" And I'm like, "I think with what they're doing, with the area they're in, yeah, everything has merit. Everything. I mean, I don't see really anybody today. Some of the more high profile, they're all exceptional instructors, but most of them focus on one spectrum of jiu-jitsu. But the art is too big to contain and package. I just view it that way. That's why I'm not a big fan of curriculums. I know I'm going to probably get heat for that, but I'm just not. I think that.
So in that case, is it even possible for us to sponge this whole thing and control it in some capacity? I mean, like when we talk about martial artists, there is obviously skill associated with that, but also there is this ability to process information and behave yourself in a certain ways, whether under stress or just during the day. But if it's so large that average person cannot comprehend all of it and they have to focus, be experts in specific areas, is it even possible for us to focus on all of it and try to sponge it?
No, that's the lifelong journey. Remember what I said last time? That's chasing the perfection that'll never come.
Yeah,
it's just that. It's the lifelong study. I'm still learning. I wrote about this recently. Jean Jacques was taking our Saturday morning class, just do some warm-ups. And of course, we're doing the hip movement, the shrimp movement. And he said something and demonstrated something in his movement that caught my eye. And I didn't want to interrupt the class, so the class kept going. And then when everybody started training, I asked him for a couple minutes of his time. And I brought that up. And for the next 20 minutes or so, we worked on the hip movement and a specific movement that he started implementing when he does it. And I'm looking and he broke it down for me. And I'm like, man, it's, and I asked him, I go, have you always known this? And he goes, Jay, teaching, your body just evolves more and more. Your understanding starts to change. And he goes, no, I have not always known this. He goes, this is something that's more of a revelation as of late, but it's how we evolve, how our technique evolves. So it was a combination of him always refining and being teachable and learning. But it was the fact that after almost 30 years of training jiu-jitsu, one of the most profound lessons I've had with him in the last year was on the hip escape, which is day one.
Doesn't that fascinate you from
very much
just logistical perspective? Like I often sit back. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, how often do you do it? I mean, I've done that, 100,000 times, and you think how many different ways can you position your body? But when he did that, it would just, why didn't I see this? You know what I mean? It was
And
right
you know what?
there.
The fascination behind this comes from the fact that there is somebody listens to this who just started last month, and they say, what, wait a minute. Well, hold up now. So like you telling me that you teach for 30 years, you've been on the mat for 30 years, and Master Jean Jacques has been on the mat, I don't even know how, 50? I don't know, more?
Yeah, 53 years or something like that, yeah.
And you two are talking about hip escaping?
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, think about it like this. What does a new student generally do, especially if they have power? They hip escape 50%. The rest of it is bench press.
No, absolutely.
You know, there's always some level of athleticism. Learning how to protect your body, and what he did was just a method of constriction, like pulling everything in tighter to protect yourself more. You don't realize how important that is until you're in your 40s and 50s. So this goes back to sustainability. It's a technical refinement, you know, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier. Now imagine, I mean, I feel horrible even saying that. Imagine if my last interaction with Jean Jacques, maybe I moved away. My last interaction with him was 10 years ago.
But you would never learn this.
I would have never learned it, and I would have been telling everybody, you do hip escape this way because this is the way I was taught. Yeah, that was the way I was taught. That's the way Jean Jacques showed it, but clearly it has evolved over time. This is one of the many reasons why I stay rooted to the Academy, because I'm always right there witnessing the evolution. You know, I have that privilege. The irony is not lost on me. Like the longer I train and the more I grow, the more I realize I still need to learn so much.
And I asked you this last time when we were talking during the last episode we did together, but do you find yourself do you see yourself as a lucky cat? I mean,
very much.
You're as closest to the
100%.
source as it can be.
100%. I often tell my wife, she's my closest confidant about this, because she's been through it all with me while I was trying to find my way through this. I'm like, I don't know if I have a relative, and this is karma coming back for me, what I did to be so lucky to be where I am. But just give me an example. I was up at 4:30 this morning because I had to go to the Academy to do some private classes before coming home for this. And, you know, I tell people that. They're like, what's your day like tomorrow? I'm like, oh, I got to get up early. What time do you get up? 4:30. And they make this face. And I'm like, I get to go to the Jean Jacques Academy and teach there. And I have students that support me and that, you know, want to be there for me. That is, this goes back to that spirit of gratitude. I must have did something right. I don't know, but yeah, I'm very.
Somebody's looking out. Somebody's looking out for you. Like it.
Yeah.
But you know what?
But it hasn't been easy.
You know, like I'm thinking about even. There is layers to all of this. For a new student, brand new student comes in to your academy and they say, wow, Master Jean Jacques, Master J. And there's a long line of black belts. Like there is, I mean, of several hundreds of compiled years of experience on the mat. I'm going to learn everything I need to learn. This is my place. But then there's layer 2 of person like you or other black belts. I've been on the mat for 20, 30 years, and now I have Master Jean Jacques to my accessibility. Now that adds different layers. Your comprehension is different. Your perspective is different. You look at things differently, and you have access to the same source.
Yeah, it's a combination of that, and it's hard to put it into words. The spirit of our relationship as student and teacher. That's just deep. It's deep. It's rich. Any friendship you have that can endure and thrive through decades, I can't that is like a jewel or a gem that I just treasure. And just as much as I value being his black belt and value being there to learn from him, but also to be of service for him, to be of service for our school, it's different, and it's interesting because that when you've been through so much together, and I've had many moments with him, those private, where he's kind of counseled me through a lot of my struggles, a lot of the wisdom when I was competing a lot, and being in my corner and helping me through a lot of the challenges I had in front of me. And his ability to sense if I'm not well, like if something's wrong. Because I always go into the school chipper and happy, but I have to do that. The students can't know that something's going on with me. I have to shield that up for 2 hours. Then I can go home and then I can open myself back up. But he knows. He knows me. It's kind of like a marriage. I know my wife and I'm sure you're the same way. You can call your wife. You just know the tone. She might tell you she's fine, but you can just tell, no, you're not fine. What's going on? And he's very much that way. I think the student-teacher relationship is very special. It's something that I treasure. And I'm so grateful that I've had the ability to just have one school, one student, or one teacher. And that's something I'm incredibly proud of.
We touched on this before we start recording, but that's really unheard of these days. Maybe not unheard of, but it's something that is unique. Doesn't happen often. Not only a black belt for extended period of time, but we are talking, we're talking about decades.
Yeah, part of it is, it was like a perfect recipe for me because, ironically, and I might have mentioned this to you the first time I was on the show, when I joined the school, I said that I didn't want to teach.
Yeah.
And then he approached me about helping him with some other aspects of his business. And that was the beginning of this thing that he and I had. And what it really boiled down to is he got to know me on a different side. I got to know him on a different side. And when you're doing business together, naturally money gets involved, and money it can destroy a friendship. It can destroy a relationship. I've never let money get in the way of my relationship with him. And then it was just layers and layers and layers of trust. And it has gotten to the point to where it's like, he's been there for me for so much. So it's my way of just pledging my loyalty, basically, is being there. And he's, the thing that just brings me so much pride and joy is he refers to it as our school, not his school. When we're going to promote students, he always consults with me and Professor Mark first, because we're that vetted into the leadership. So
this has to feel good. And I don't mean it from incredible. A success perspective, but being recognized in that sense. I mean, our school, with all the respect to everybody, but your name is not on the door. Like they argue, one would argue that you don't even have grounds for this to be our, right? And yet that's being recognized by him.
Yeah, and he's taken such good care of me, and then just from the standpoint, I do oversee our association, so I have a lot of work just ingrained through that. And I have private students. I have a very busy life down there, so it's where I hang my hat. I have zero desire. I've never had a desire. I've always told them the only way I branch out to open another school is if your name is on the door and you're part of it. We did that for a couple of years in another city, but wildfires made sure that never happened again. So we just decided to double down, stay where we are, our headquarters, and just kind of build from there. But yeah, I'm very, very lucky.
Jay, many will listen to this and they will say that's crazy, in a sense. Like, why would you do that? You can go on your own. You can do your own thing. Everybody else does. It's not that hard. it doesn't take a genius. You have decades of experience. You have, even just from a resume perspective, I mean, that's the list of experience that you can list is probably unmatched in many ways. Why just stay?
I think it's the short answer, or maybe it'll be a long answer, I don't know, is as an instructor, and I know you're, without even asking you, I know the answer. As an instructor, you get your heart broken. Sometimes you get your heart smashed. You put everything in the people that come through your doors and you invest in them. If you're a passionate instructor, you pour all your heart into people. You should do it with no expectation in return. You should do it so that you don't feel like, well, if they hurt me, then I'm not going to be this way anymore. You can't be like that, because now you're letting them take ownership of you. But when you have a student who you've put time and energy in, and then they just walk away, or even if they leave and they just say, I want to go somewhere else, and that's fine. People can do whatever they want to do, but it still hurts. Mm-hmm. I could never walk away from him. Everything that he's put in me, even if I opened an affiliate school, and even if I, still kept my allegiance to him, but I left headquarters, I couldn't do that. My gratitude for him, because loyalty is a two-way street. I don't believe in blind loyalty. If you're not investing in me, why should I be loyal to you? And I mean, that may trigger some people, but I've trained at martial arts schools when I was younger. I sign up, and every 3 months it's a different instructor. Like, this place doesn't care about me. Nobody's making an effort to really get to know me or help me. So I would leave. Fortunately, it didn't happen too much, but it's happened. But here, I mean, he's put so much of his time and energy and care into me. I'm just not that kind of person. I can't. And if it makes me different, then I'll wear that flag, because that's just who I am.
Well, I think we all a little different, and in our own ways, and that's what makes us who we are. And I mean, that's just being part of human.
Yeah. And so that's why I say, I don't. We all, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, life, it's just people come, people go. It's like, I understand this more than ever now that I'm getting older. I want to be happy. I want the people around me happy. And you had a guest on your show one time say something like, at the end of the day, what did I learn and who did I help? Which I thought was very profound. But I also add one that's super important for me. And it's like, after the people that have come, the people that I've interacted with today, are they better after their time with me? That's the most important thing for me. Like, I not only are you learning and working out and all that, but I want to make sure that there's enough of a connection here that when you leave, you feel good about whatever it is, life, you're just happy, you're better. I didn't add stress to you. I didn't make you feel bad. I helped you in some way. And the greatest thing for me, and it's something that I'm so deeply appreciative of, is that we have so many students at our school. Last year I was at our affiliate camp. I got my 5th degree, and my wife showed up, and I knew she was going to be there, but it's still very hard. You're going through all these emotions, trying to come up with the words to express, to my teacher and then to her. And I told this room full of students, I'm like, you guys all have her to thank for me being here. Because she could have just said, you know what, honey, I know you want this, but it's not working out, and I would have given it all up for her. She came up to me when we were getting ready to leave, and she had tears in her eyes. She said, I had so many students, and she goes, grown men coming up to me with tears in their eyes. Thank you for not giving up on him. So loyalty and just that, it's just, I'm that's just who I am, and it's interesting because people really start to understand that Jiu-Jitsu is way more than gi, no gi, self-defense, MMA, arm bars, chokes. It's much, much deeper than that. It's how we connect with other human beings. That's the most important thing. And now more than ever is when we need that.
You know, something just hit me as you were telling the story with students approaching your wife and then her sharing with you. Have you two ever talked about the impact that she has made on thousands of people through you by supporting you in this endeavor? I mean,
Yes,
because like
absolutely.
if we just simply take this from a very simplistic perspective, right? At any point of time, and I think this goes to many instructors, especially academy owners, right? There is a frustrations that comes with it. There's challenges, you know, within household and so on. And many times it's like, you got to be done with this. Are you insane? Are you nuts? Are you going again? Are you doing this again? Why are we doing this? Right? So like that support is critical in order for not only that partnership, but also for you as a person to be very available to your students, right? So have you two ever talked about it, like her not supporting you and you literally just departing and doing something else, yet you're still here and that journey continues because of that support?
Yeah, no, we had a breaking point. I had a breaking point. Oh man, this was like 2013, I think. We were slowly climbing our way out of this hole we were in, this immense hole. And some things happened. And I remember I was like, that's it. I'm done. I want to keep going, but I'll be honest with you. For me, it was like, I can't keep putting this on her. She deserves more. She deserves a much better life than the life I'm giving her right now. And I can't do it anymore. And it was the loneliest drive of my life, because I turned the stereo off and I drove home in complete silence, because I started thinking, I'm not going to have jiu-jitsu anymore. I'm not going to teach. I'm going to get a job. I'll make money. We'll be okay. I won't be the same person. And I went home and I sat down with her and I told her this. I just said, this is what happened and this is affecting this. And I'm going to call Jean Jacques tomorrow and tell him I'm done. And, you know, I'll be okay. And I don't want you to think that I'm going to be mad at you. I'm doing this for you because you don't deserve any more of this. And she put her hand on my lap and she said, how can you think of giving up now when you're so close? And I just remember, like, my eyes welled up, because I'm like, this lady believes in me so much. And she said, she goes, I can feel the energy. I see what this does for you. If you get a job back in the corporate world or whatever you're going to do, you're not going to be the same person. I can see how this makes you feel. All the other stuff will happen, but don't give up now. And I'm like, that's all I needed, you know? So that was the one breaking point. So today I still reflect on that. And even when I have to make business decisions or scheduling things, different things, she's the one I consult. She's my business partner. Even though she has no vested interest in jiu-jitsu, she's not involved in it in any way. It all begins and ends with her, because without her, I wouldn't be here. So I think having a supportive partner is so important, because it gives me the energy and the strength and the drive to do what I do.
Good for you. I mean, good for you.
You know,
simple as that. I think that support is critical, and I think everybody who is in your shoes, my shoes, and many other instructors, I mean, they know exactly what we are talking about. But I also know there's plenty who are not in that situation, and they don't have the supportive network, and that's hard. That's difficult. That's challenging.
but you know, I mean, and I just tell that's marriage, that's love, you know. Sometimes we have to make these difficult choices. Love, I heard this definition, and it's like love is giving somebody the power to destroy you and trusting them not to. And
oh, that's interesting. That's very dramatic, though. But
Yeah, because what are you doing? Really, you're giving somebody your
Yeah.
heart
Yeah.
and like, don't hurt this,
Yeah.
So I was hurting her for a long time. I mean, she wouldn't tell you that because everything I did was to give us a better life. But I was asking for faith. I'm like, I'm gone all day. I'm coming home with not much, but it's gonna hit. Just trust me. I can feel it, but it was up and down, and then it just sank for a little while. And that's when I thought, okay, I got to make a decision. But that was the only time. After that, once I got through that, it's just been
Good
up,
for you.
up, up.
Good for you.
So, and he got me through it. That's why I'm there.
We've been at this for over an hour. Slowly, we're gonna start wrapping this up. But what I do at the end of these conversations lately, I have this one simple question, and it's extremely hypothetical. So I want you to just bear with me here and use your imagination a little bit. But I think we all have this pivot point, and I think you described one of them in your life. You drive home, quiet drive. You sit down with your wife, you have this conversation, but the response is different. And you do make the phone call. And your life takes a very drastic change. Where would you be today if that took place?
Oh, I'd be back at Jean Jacques, but I'd be training once or twice a week because I for sure that's what would have happened. And who knows, I might have found my way back once I got myself stable. But
so you're saying that you would not give it up at any cost at that point?
No,
You don't
I mean,
think so?
I would have given up teaching and being away because I knew like if I'm gonna have to get a job, that's gonna adversely affect all of it. But I would have found my way back. Yeah, for sure. I would, like I said, I'd just be a hobbyist, a couple days a week doing my thing. But yeah, it would take a lot more than that for him to get rid of me. I'm glued to him for life.
You're a determined human, huh?
Yes, yes. My life is really quite simple. It's this, and then I take my wife to Disneyland all the time. That was we travel quite a bit. I take her on a lot of the jiu-jitsu seminars. Depending on where we go, she goes with me. And she's a big Disneyland fan. So a couple of years back, I went all in and I bought the passes, and I've always told everybody, especially as I'm getting older, like I'm making up for lost time. And I feel like as you get older, you don't want to lose sight of the people closest to you. So I treat my wife like I'm courting her all over again, like we're dating. So she loves Disneyland. So we go there all the time. And people ask me, like, doesn't it drive you crazy? I'm like, no, man, how can I not give her that after everything she put up with? And I get my steps in. I walk 7, 8, 9.
Oh, I'm sure.
So I work out too. So it's fun. It's good.
There you go. Always looking at the positive side of things.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. All right. So look, you're 58. Life is, making those turns, and clearly you are thinking about life as it's remaining. You talked about the hourglass being flipped over, and not one more day, but one less day, and all these analogies that we use. But how are you seeing this from this point on? Are you going to teach until you're 90? Are you involved in that deep? Are you carrying the weight of the association on your back? Like, how are you envisioning this? That's a lot of heavy lifting here.
Yeah, no, I think, I have a timeline of 5 to 7 years, I think, where the pace that I'm at right now will sustain. Beyond that, I will always be a presence at the academy, as will Jean Jacques, but I will always be a presence there, but I just won't be as active and engaged. I'll be rolling in every so often, just making sure everyone is good, check in. I'll definitely start pulling back. And we have another generation of black belts and potential leaders. We have some students that I kind of have an eye on that, fresh leadership that'll continue to carry the flag for the next generation. So the school will continue to thrive. But as far as my participation in it, I will never leave. I'll always be there. But the frequency and the amount of time I spend there will get curtailed less a lot. So that's kind of like where I'm at. 58 because 5 to 7 years, I'm getting closer to 65. And I'm just there's two things I'm going to do when I get there. One, I'm going to delete all my social media if I don't do it sooner. I don't want to be 60 something years old. No, I'm done, but, and then just, I'll probably have a couple of private students and just enjoy life a lot more. I mean, I enjoy it now, but I have a lot more free time and freedom. That's really what I want.
Good for you. Good for you. You deserved it, at least in my eyes.
Thank you.
And this is mine.
Thank you.
Well, it's been phenomenal catching up with you after 3 years of coexisting on the opposite sides of the not world, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I always see you online, so don't be so trigger happy with deleting stuff, because I stalk you too. So like,
well, who knows? There might be social media for seniors or something. Then I'll migrate over to that.
There's an opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah, former coder. Look at that. Maybe we can refresh your skills, and I don't know.
Call it Master Division.
There you go. Well, Professor, it was phenomenal catching up with you. It was phenomenal chatting with you, and enormous amount of wisdom. I feel lucky just by talking to you, let alone, the insights that your students can really gain from you and Master Jean Jacques. I mean, that's just being a lucky cat in my book. So I appreciate
you. It's always wonderful talking to you. Always.
If anybody wants to catch up with you, just refresh our minds. Where can you be found? If anybody wants to send you a message, are you accessible, available? How does that work for you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, just my name, Jay Zeballos. Same thing with Facebook. I have a private and a public, like an athlete page on Facebook. And then jjmachado.com. You can always contact me through there too. That's Jean Jacques' new website. So yeah, I'm a pretty easy guy to find.
I will make sure that all the links are in the show notes of this episode. So if you guys want to dig into it, connect with Professor, I highly encourage you to do it. And once again, Professor, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And as always, pleasure talking to you.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Let's wrap it up for today.
Thank you for listening to RŌL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.